Hi, Justine Magazine. I am Alexandra Bracken.
And I am Susan Dennard.
We are here to interview each other and also talk to you guys about our new books, Wayfarer and Windwitch, or as we like to call them, Waywitch.
Exactly.
All right, let's start with you, Susan, Miss Suze. Can you give us a brief synopsis of Truthwitch is book 1, and now this is book 2, Windwitch. So can you give us a brief overview of what's happening in the world of the Witchlands?
Of the Witchlands. In Truthwitch, we meet two best friends, Safi and Isolde, who basically are thrust into a giant game of empires and magic, and they have no idea what they're doing. As we learn in the course of Truthwitch, they may or may not be this chosen pair meant to save everything. Emphasis on may not be. And so then we pick up where they all left off in Windwitch. We have a big cast of characters. We really focus in on Prince Merrick, the Windwitch of our title, and he is back home in his dying country seeking revenge.
Excellent, excellent. If you could choose one magic or witchery from the books, what would you choose and why?
Ooh, and why?
I feel like an NPR reporter right now. I'm taking this very seriously.
I'm okay with that. I am a marine scientist by training, and I'm a Pisces, and so I feel like water is my element, and so I would totally be a water witch, maybe specifically a tide witch, so I could surf the waves, and look really cool. And my favorite upcoming character in the next book is a tide witch, so that's what I like.
So the Truthwitch series is actually pretty centered on friendship overall, even more so than romance. So I'm wondering if you could tell me about some of your favorite fictional friendships.
Probably the inspiring friendship for the book was Sean and Gus from the show Psych. If you guys haven't seen that, it's amazing. But because I'm a woman, I guess I just automatically made sort of my bromance into a womance. But yeah, I love Gilmore Girls with Rory and her mom, as well as Rory, and she has a whole cast of other girls on that show.
Like Paris, that's such an interesting friendship.
Yeah, I love the frenemy to best friend thing too. It's always Frodo and Sam. I know it's such a cliche, but it is a really good one. Also, one of the sort of interesting female dynamics that I really love, really inspired me in the Witchlands was Katara and Toph from Avatar: The Last Airbender. They don't really understand each other, and they're not really friends for the second season when they're together. And then they sort of bond somewhere in the middle there, and they're like, oh, okay, I do like you, even though you're another girl. You're not a threat in any way, and I get you. And that's just something I wish we saw more of, the really slow to build friendship.
I love that. You don't have to have exactly everything in common with your bestie to be friends. All right, Miss Dennard, which character from Truthwitch will surprise readers the most in Windwitch?
So that's actually a pretty easy answer, and it's not spoilery, and that is the Tide Witch I mentioned earlier, which is Merrick's sister Vivia. The side that we see of her in Truthwitch is pretty awful, and so in Windwitch we actually get to see her point of view, and I think it will really change the way readers think about her.
Let's peel back some of the layers now of Susan Dennard. What do you do when you should be writing but maybe are procrastinating or just need a break?
Oh gosh, I played BioWare games. Dragon Age and Mass Effect are my addictions. It's actually embarrassing how many times I have beat the entire series. Each game takes 100 hours. So yeah, and I'll just start them over. They're like my comfort food, It's like someone else has mac and cheese and I have Dragon Age.
I feel like I know you so well, but I think you should share with everyone else 3 secret things about yourself that you don't really talk about that often.
That's an interesting question or request, because I assume everyone either knows everything about me or just doesn't care, so I don't reveal things or talk about them. But I guess 3 things. I lived in Germany for 3 years because my husband is half French, half German. I was about to get my PhD in marine science, and I decided to move with my boyfriend to Germany. And fun note on that, the German government was like, you can't be here. And I was like, okay, what if we get married? And they're like, oh, now you can stay. So yay, we eloped. If I could do anything, it's interesting, right? Because you think of being an author, it is definitely my dream come true, but I'm also always adding to what my dream come true could be. And so next it would be, you can probably guess, to work for BioWare. No, seriously though, I would love to work on a video game of any capacity. It's just such a different storytelling medium, and it's branching, and it gets so big so fast, and I just really like thinking that way. And maybe one day in 10 years I'll actually get to do it. I did my Master's of Science in the Arctic, and I worked on Arctic sharks and Arctic halibut, and I lived on sea ice, And that's like what we did, and it was really intense. It was probably like physically speaking the hardest thing. I mean, it was undoubtedly physically speaking the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It's so weird when I think back on that, because I was like in a completely different field, and now here I am, very comfortable, not freezing to death and not cutting open smelly things. So yeah.
Yeah, what she didn't tell you just then is that she used to cut open, the smelly things she would cut open were sharks.
They were.
So Miss Susan, I guess this is our last question for you. What was your favorite book to read during the summer, or books? Or what was your favorite book that got assigned to you that you ended up enjoying even though it was homework?
I was like that person who had like 12 books to read every summer. I don't know what program I went through, but I got really hammered. I hated most of them, and maybe it's because they were assigned, and I was in this like foreign literature program throughout high school, so we had to read some really boring literature. But I do remember, like, even though I had already read them, my junior year, we had to read all the Jane Austen books that summer, and I had already read them, but I was like, yeah, I'm on it. So that was definitely my favorite.
Those are good summer reading books. I feel like you want a project, and Jane Austen is awesome.
I did my senior thesis on Emma, so there you go.
This also makes sense because in the car ride over, you showed me all of your Jane Austen fan art that you used to draw. So suddenly I've made a connection, and now I've shared it with you guys.
Hey, Justine Magazine, I'm Susan Dennard, and be sure to check out Windwitch, the second book in the Witchland series, which is in stores now. And if you want to learn more, head to justinemagazine.com.